I had a good time with the first Sisu. It was a perfect wet Sunday night type of movie. Crack a beer, sit down and watch something enjoyable. Heightened, silly, yes, but enjoyable. Unfortunately, when the second one came around, it was the same weekend in the UK as Wicked for Good, which was screaming out for noise in most cinema screens, so I didn't get a chance to see it. In retrospect, I should have applied a little Sisu of my own, forged my own way into the theatre lobby and demanded a screening, but alas, I had to make do with waiting, so just caught it recently, on a random wet Sunday night with a couple of beers, and honestly, it scratched that itch. It was pure fun, pulpy action nonsense. But more importantly, watching it made me realise exactly what modern Hollywood has completely lost the stomach for: the individual, the idol. Instead, the modern industry is completely paralysed by a disease called IP over I, intellectual property over the individual. Look at what they want. They want the James Bond blueprint, a corporate asset they can just apply to unnamed actors to grow them into names, rinse and repeat every decade to suit changing market trends. They want a machine, not a human myth. And that's the exact polar opposite of how true action cinema was built. Die Hard 3. The studio didn't build a generic corporate vehicle. They bought an unrelated spec script called Simon Says and slapped the name Die Hard onto it with a vengeance because they wanted to carry on with Bruce. The narrative didn't matter. The idol was the special effect. He transcended the plot. Idols are terrifying to a boardroom because they can't control them, and the cost of bringing them back just goes up and up and up. Then an idol becomes larger than life and Hollywood panics. It takes a certain kind of white-knuckled courage to leave John McClane bleeding out on a broken glass floor. Instead, they have to make Die Hard 4, and they lacking the courage. They didn't know how to ground Bruce Willis anymore, so they had him surfing a fighter jet on a collapsing highway, I think? Yeah. And then Die Hard 5, apparently there was that, but no, it didn't happen because I refuse to believe that ever happened. We see this fallout of corporate panic everywhere. Hollywood tried to reboot Conan without Arnold Schwarzenegger, plugging Jason Momoa into a suit, and we got a sterile, forgettable bowl of fantasy slop. So now executives are desperately circling back to a 70-something Arnold for King Conan, realising the property is worthless without the specific human titan who forged it. It's why Rocky has only survived because they had the common sense to step out of Sly Stallone's shadow and make a side quest with the Michael B. Jordan Creed films. When you prioritise the corporate IP over the individual swagger, you just get the reboot graveyard. You get the indignity of cuckolding Joel Kinnaman into the RoboCop suit. You get a lifeless Total Recall reboot that must have challenged Colin Farrell's sobriety to breaking point, or you get like a Freddy Krueger that sucks the fun completely out of the role and just left the audience feeling dirty.
I'm your new nightmare.
Hell, you remember there was that low-budget, gritty Han Solo movie? It's okay if you didn't. Nobody saw it. You cannot recast charisma, innate charisma. That brings us right back to Sisu, Road to Revenge, and why the director Jalmari Helander is the absolute antidote to this pipeline. The film pulls off a crystal skull. It swapped the Nazis for Soviets, but this isn't a cheap, topical IP farming. It's tapping into generational blood feud for the Winter War of 1939. This is when the Soviet army invaded Finland expecting a walkover. Instead, a deeply rooted, pig-headed national defiance saw roughly 25,000 Finns take down well over 130,000 Soviet troops in the freezing snow through brutal, white-knuckled guerrilla warfare. That historical reality is literally where the concept of Sisu was forged. It carries generational weight, and given the modern parallels, we could probably expect a Ukrainian word for Sisu becoming part of their folklore in the future. A huge part of why the pulp of Sisu Road to Revenge works is Stephen Lang. Best known as the antagonist from the Avatar series, his embodiment of the Soviet commander is pure, unadulterated evil when he stares down the lens, relishing in recalling slaughtering a 6-year-old and delivering a line to our protagonist, "You are a byproduct of my work." He gives any kind of myth this terrifying, cold, bureaucratic face, giving our hero a true mountain of malice to climb. And then our hero, Atami, he doesn't speak a single word in this one. Instead, Helander shows in Sisu Road to Revenge that he can perfectly juggle the absurd grit. Despite the heightened subject matter and ridiculous nature, the action is framed and clear. No choppy edits here. There's a sequence that mirrors the broken glass and bare feet tension of Die Hard, but then they amp it up with this gory Looney Tunes level of slapstick. There's a point later on, a Tommy blindly grabs what he thinks is a knife while his head is stuck in a sink to try and stab a character, only realising he's furiously attacking him with a blunt spoon. You have to embrace that childish humour, because there's a point where you're watching a 65-year-old Jorma Tamila and a 71-year-old Stephen Lang try and beat the crow's feet off each other. And it brings us to the ultimate trap. Jalmari Helander, the director, his next project is the John Rambo prequel. Now, there's genuine hope here, because Sisu has proved he has the directorial vision to step away from Sly Stallone's shoulders and let a character breathe in the mud. But Rambo isn't a CGI monster or a Shakespearean archetype like the Joker. He's an idol built on Stallone's specific weary history. Helander is handing the bandana to Noah Centineo. We'll get our first real canary in the coal mine this October when he plays Ken in the Street Fighter reboot. Look, we have to accept that this is the way. Hollywood is going to come for your loved ones and prop them up to make a few more bucks. It's just been announced that Zack Snyder is ready to rape and pillage Snake Plissken. Get used to it. We're going to have a new Terminator in time. John McClane will be back. They will clone a new Neo. And if they could have got away with Chris Pratt in a fedora leather jacket and holding a whip, they would have already. Amazon is going to beat Bond to a bloody pulp over the next few decades, especially when they make content outside the mainstream movies. We have two paths. Ignore or embrace, and it's going to be tough. But remember, Sisu manifests itself when all hope is lost.
Would you like to know more?
Movies, popcorn.